everybody. This is Gail. Welcome tonight to my live stream. Sorry about being a touch late. What happened was you will notice that I have lights on both sides here, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. First, I want you to go ahead. Welcome. I want to welcome everybody tonight to the live stream. We are going to be talking about epilepsy and service dogs. Doing a Q&A. Uh, Earlier this week, I started doing a little shorts series about epilepsy and just kind of life in general. But this time, for this Saturday, I thought since I got so many questions that I would just go ahead. And so I've written them down. I have a whole list here, and we're going to be getting to those. Hey, Living Positively is here. Hey, Living Positively. How are you doing, Lori? And you just heard my Google live stream yell at me. I'm sorry, my Google Home Mini yell at me during the live stream. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, it's been. What happened to me tonight was I went to go ahead and start the stream. I have lights here on either side, and of course I have the monitor in front of me. And so I went to turn on the lights on my right-hand side, and it all turned off, everything. And I was like, oh. So we had to spend some time figuring that out and fixing it, and I'm not sure what happened. But anyhow, here I am. I'm back, and very, very glad to be back. So, hey, welcome. I see we've got 2 watchers. Thank you to both of you. Go ahead and dive into the chat if you would like to. So yeah, and again, I'm using Streamlabs again tonight. I am continuing to think about transferring over to this from StreamYard. StreamYard has suddenly gotten not suddenly, it happened a few months ago. They got very expensive, and I can't get back on the free plan. So here we are trying to use Streamlabs. So bear with me here. Also, the cleaning supplies that you see behind me, or will see if I move my microphone, these cleaning supplies it's one of the bundles that we're giving here in my county to victims of Hurricane Helene and possibly somebody who has just general needs because we have such a high poverty rate. So we have these. They're $10. Anybody wants to sponsor one. And I'm proud to say that Lori has already sponsored a bundle. So I'm going to be picking that up in a couple of days. 5 bundles have been sponsored by Big Tom's Van. Huge heart. And yeah, Busy Lady has sponsored one too. So I'm really grateful to you guys. My goal is to have 30. It doesn't seem like a lot, but you got to remember this is a small county, and 30 for the people who've been hit, I think will really help. So 30 families will get benefit if we can do that much. So crossing fingers. All right. So going back to epilepsy and service dogs here, it was Purple Day earlier this week, and Purple Day has been set aside to recognize epilepsy. Purple is the international color for epilepsy to raise awareness, and Purple Day is an international event designed to raise awareness of epilepsy. So with all of that, I thought, why not just do a quick little short series on it and see where it goes. For those of you who don't know, epilepsy is one of the chronic illness challenges that I have to live with every day, and it's just the way life is. So I kind of look at it as you can either get really mad and really depressed that you have these things, or you can be glad for what you can do. And epilepsy it doesn't end your life or anything like that. It's manageable, and I think that's the most important thing to focus on. I've had people that tell me that they just could not cope when they got this diagnosis. And there's a lot worse things out there to have, okay? Just saying. So when life throws you a chronic illness, I think it's just better to learn how to integrate that into your life instead of just stopping everything. Do y'all know what I mean? Um, Probably everybody listening to this live stream at one point or another has met someone who just they got a chronic illness diagnosis and then they just gave up, you know. And you don't have to do that. Epilepsy is manageable, at least for 99.9% of the people out there, and it can be improved for just about everyone. So epilepsy in itself doesn't have to stop you from living unless you just want it to. It's natural to be depressed or stressed or aggravated or upset after you get a diagnosis like this, and that's okay. It's also okay to get some counseling and some support if you feel like you need it after getting a diagnosis like this. So those are my thoughts, and I'm going to dive into the questions. I'm not anybody medical. I've just been living with epilepsy, and so has my daughter. And she's now an adult. So she thinks, anyway. She's in her 30s. So, all right. So let me get into here just a second. I want to pull up my channel so in case I miss any of the comments, I can answer them. Whoops. Okay. So I am pulling it up. Okay. So I have got, like I said, I've got several questions here. I haven't counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A couple of them are the same. So just phrased a little bit differently. And if you have a question, toss it into the chat. Living Positively is great also to help answer questions. She's amazing. And as you can tell, she's a positive person. So Living Positively, Lori, thank you. Okay, first question. If you have epilepsy, how do you travel so much? I actually have been asked this several times. Actually, more than several. So I travel a lot. We all know I have a van, I have an RV. I just don't like staying at home. And I have a plan in place anytime I travel that my family and I just sort of activate. And that is, I always want to make sure everybody knows where I'm going, what time I'm getting there. So if something comes up and I'm not there on time, they'll know to start looking. I also have Google location set on my phone. So if something happens, my family can find me. Crash detection is a big deal. That became more important on Sunday, the crash detection and the Google location sharing. I actually wrecked my van. And I don't know how bad it is yet. I'm not going to go there. But anyway, I have crash detection. I've got Google location settings, everything I can from a safety standpoint set on my phone. So I really encourage everybody on whatever brand of phone you have. I use an Android, but also check your iPhones. Look at the safety settings that are there, your safety and security settings, and see what's set that will help you. I also have on my phone, I have all of my medical information. So if something happens and they have to go into the emergency button here, anybody, they'll know who my doctors are, who my family members are. They'll be able to contact them and so forth. So all of that is set on my phone. The other thing that I do is try to keep in regular contact with family while I'm on the road. That makes them feel a lot more secure. And of course, I have my service dog, and we laugh. Something that, hey, Valerie Reese is in the house. Hi, Valerie. Good to see you. Good to see you. Something that we laugh about is I had my first service dog for 13 years, and he passed away. And in the time that I was without a service dog, I went to Lexington, Kentucky. And that summer before he passed away, I had just driven to Alaska. So my husband said he was more nervous about me going to Lexington, Kentucky, just a few hours away, without my service dog than he was me going to Alaska with my service dog. So we kind of laugh about that because I think that for a lot of people, they would just be nervous regardless, you know. And of course, now I have Tipsy, and he's not a seizure alert dog. I'm going to get to that in just, well, actually, just next. Anyway, so that's how I travel so much. I also like using a van instead of flying, where I know a lot of people like to fly. For me, if I start feeling unwell for any reason, I can find a place to park the van, as long as it's not totaled. We'll see. Yeah. So I like that as opposed to traveling at the airport. When I do fly, I get a TSA passenger support specialist because they are an amazing help to get you through TSA. That's very stressful for me. I get confused in general, and they are just a godsend. So when I fly, I get them. So yeah, so that's how I travel so much. The next one is, how does Pipsy help if you have a seizure? He is not a seizure alert dog. Pipsy is my general service dog. He does not do seizure alerts because you can't train that in a dog. So what he does is he'll do seizure response. And if I have a problem, he will go find husband, and we call him dad, and let him know something's wrong, and John will come and he'll check on me. I can tell him to go get meds, or I can tell him just to stay with me. And if I can't say anything, he will first go get dad if he's home. And the other thing is he will stay with me. He does not leave. And on his saddlebags, it says epinephrine in pocket, because I have some allergies that I have to have epinephrine for. But also it says medical information inside pocket. So anybody that, if I should be unconscious again out anywhere, anybody can get into his saddlebags and have all of my contact information. Plus, it's on my phone. So a lot of people know to look at phones, but it's also right there on his saddlebags. So he can also help by like opening the door if EMS comes, things like that. But that's pretty much how he helps. And let's see. Lori is asking, who can or how can he get someone if no one else is around, digital gadget, etc.? If no one else is around, if John's not here, we try to leave a door where he can get out. And so neighbors all know if he's out by himself, come check. So that's one thing. As far as digital gadgets, really my phone. If I can talk, then I can yell at Google Home, which is the wonderful thing about having these devices. And if you have a disability or chronic illness, I cannot suggest a Google Home or an Alexa enough. You can have several of them in your home so that wherever you are, you can yell and say, hey, call, and tell it who to call. I don't want to say the whole thing because I don't want it to call specific, my daughter, my husband, or whoever. But that's a good way to get a person to come and help. So those are really the two big ways. So far, I have not had a seizure where I like passed out with the grand malls in a couple of decades. I believe now that I would recognize the auras in time to be able to grab the phone. And even if you feel like you can't say something, in most areas, you can hit 911 and they will track you down, is my understanding. I haven't had to test that. I know you can do it from your home because that's happened before. Yeah. So let's see. Living Positively is pointing out that there are devices with a button that can be pushed for help. She said she had one when we were trying to figure out the extent of my eyesight damage. Wonder if a dog can be trained to push that. Yes, he can. Because you can train, one of the things you can train a dog to do, if you have a house phone, you can train the dog to call help, and he'll go and he'll knock the phone receiver off of the unit, and you have all your buttons there programmed to call 911, and so he can hit the buttons and call 911 from that. So if you have a device where a button can be pushed for help, I would say with really strong confidence that your dog can be trained to push that button. Okay. Let's see. Hey, we have JJ in pink. Welcome. Do you think service dogs should have licenses in the United States? No, I do not. The reason is they're going to game it. You know, people have had fake IDs since before I was in high school. You know, you always say, oh, no, they can't be faked. Oh, yes, they can. Because way back in the day, I had friends that were going to bars and everybody showing their fake ID. So if service dogs had to be licensed in the U.S., I think that same thing would happen. What people don't realize is there are two questions that you can ask someone who has a service dog. And based on those answers and based on the behavior of the dog, you can have that dog removed or ask the dog to leave. And that is your dog a service dog that's required because of a disability? In me, yes, it's like pick one, right? And what work or task is your dog trained to do? So if someone says, for example, it's a rescue dog, well, that's not an answer that pertains to having a disability. So I was actually in a Walmart one day, and this two guys, little dogs, were just yapping, and they were just really interfering with my dog's capability of working. So I asked him, I'm like, hey, is that a service dog required because of a disability? And he says, yeah, it's a rescue dog. And I said, no. I said, yes or no. Is this a service dog required because of a disability or not? And he said, well, it's just my rescue dog. Hadn't anybody said anything to me before? And I was like, then you need to leave. And I'm just another customer in Walmart, but he's interfering. He is barking and snapping at my Pipsy. And my Pipsy can't work if he's being growled and snapped at. So, and we'd been on a couple of different aisles and whatnot and run into the dogs. And I went and asked somebody from the store, I'm like, hey, this guy is saying he has a rescue dog. If he keeps barking and snapping at me, can I have security intervene? And they were like, yes. And even if the service dog is misbehaving and it's a legit service dog and they're misbehaving and they won't stop, you have to let the person have an opportunity to get the dog, settled down. But if they won't stop, you can also ask them to be removed. And if the person can't say what work or task the service dog has been trained to do, then you may have grounds to also ask them to leave. So I really feel like if businesses would take that power and have the service dogs removed that are misbehaving or they're not service dogs, I feel like if they would take that power, that would mean more than a license, because licenses can be faked. The system can be gamed. mean, you can go online right now and pay your money and have your dog registered or get an ID. But you can also go online, and not online, but you can also go to your computer, type in what you want your ID to say, put the name of your dog on the ID, and claim it's licensed, registered, certified, or whatever. But the Department of Justice does not recognize any of that. And I think it's because they feel like it would be gamed. The other thing is, who's going to pay for it? You know, if you're a senior citizen on a fixed income, who's you know, how are you going to have money to pay to license your dog? You know, so, or if you're on disability. So there's lots of things that go into play there. If I thought it would make a change at all, I would be the first one on let's get licensing. But the other thing is, there's no body that licenses that not licenses, but there's no definitive body, at least in the U.S., that actually can oversee training and verify that that license is even valid. So, I mean, there's just a lot that goes into it. Let me get back to the chat here. Okay, JJ in the pink says, my former service dog almost got attacked a few times. I would always say something about fake service dog if it interferes with her. Good. You know, say something. My first service dog was attacked twice. Once, he was a husky mix, and a dog just really dived in and really got him around the neck. He didn't hurt him. He didn't, thank God, he didn't puncture. But it took myself, my husband, and the owner calling him away before we could get this fight broken up, and it got kind of tense. So I get what you're saying, and it can cause you things like that can cause you to lose the working capacity of your service dog. And a lot of states have laws about interfering with a service dog team because of that. So I would always suggest using the laws in your state, filing charges, doing whatever you need to do. And, you know, a lot of them are fake service dogs. Now, this one was just, the first one was just a dog off leash. The second one, the woman was claiming service dog, but then she said ESA. So I really believe it was an ESA and not a service dog. But that one, the second one, was just a very small dog that came up to my service dog. And the way we were sitting, I couldn't get up and leave, but I did put my hands on his collar and harness and was prepared to hold him back as I yelled at the lady with the little dog to get him away. And fortunately, we had worked with my dog extensively enough after the first attack that when the other dog came up at him, he just kind of looked at him and looked at me. But I think it also helped that it was a small dog. But you have an 80-pound husky, and then you have a dog that only weighs 4 or 5 pounds. It's pretty obvious who's going to win in that situation. So fortunately, she pulled her dog back. She got mad at me because I made her pull her dog away from mine. And I was just like, whatever. But, you know, we run into fake service dogs too many times. We also run into people who have emotional assistance animals and don't realize they can't legally take them places because of there's some misadvertising out there that says, you know, y'all seen them. It'll say, have your dog registered as an ESA. Take them almost everywhere with you. And they're not legal. The Department of Justice specifically states, if you go to ada.gov, it specifically states that ESAs are not service dogs and they don't have those access rights. Yeah, but people still will do it. The other thing that we have, I think, going on is undertrained service dogs. Service dogs have to be trained to a certain level. They have to be able to pull off their training 90% of the time at least. And you have some people who are taking service dogs out and calling them service dogs when they're still service dogs in training and they're just not there yet. So that can cause problems with when they run into other service dog teams. It's just that they're not ready yet. It takes a year to 18 months to 2 years, depending on the breed of the dog, before you can get a dog to that point. It's very rare that can happen in a year. Occasionally it does. My Pipsy was 13 months when I got him, and he did great. But you can expect it to take 18 months to 2 years, no matter if you are training the dog yourself or getting the dog from a program, because dogs will only grow and mature so fast. It's not a process. We can't wave a magic wand over our dogs and suddenly make them ready. And Lord help, I wish we could. All right, let me see. JJ in pink, look at this, you all. I love this woman. Support pets and other businesses like that need to be sued or shut down. Oh my gosh. I wish I had a buzzer or a button or a tambourine or something, because you are right on the money. Yes. I could not agree more. I'm just going to put this right back up there. Support pets and other businesses like that need to get sued or shut down. I absolutely agree. And every time I see those ads on YouTube, click and report, because they are, at best, they are misleading, and at worst, they're just flat against the law with the information. The information that they give is illegal. It's just not right. Just not right. And the thing is, they come online and somebody's got a service dog that they're training themselves, and they can go and they think that they're getting a legitimate card in the mail, and it's not, but they don't understand that it's not or why it's not. Or they have an ESA they legitimately want to take places, and they're being sold this stuff that just should not happen. Do you have advice for getting diagnosed with PTSD, if you have any? I want to get diagnosed so I can get a service dog again. Talk to your doctor. Tell him or her, whatever symptoms that you're having for PTSD. That there's some specific symptoms that are stagnant across all PTSD, but there are some that are a little individual in like how anxiety presents itself and stuff. So talk to your doctor. I would also keep a journal, keep a diary on when you're having flashbacks or when you're having anxiety episodes, nightmares and stuff, because if you take that in and talk to your doctor and say, okay, on these dates, this is what's happened, then it tends to help your doctor do a better job helping you. One of the things about me having epilepsy is it came as a result of a head injury after I was attacked. So I get the PTSD thing, because that's something that I have had problems with. So keep your journal. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not necessarily talking about, writing out, dear diary, today I had XYZ happen, and, this is how I feel and whatnot. Just when I say diary for symptoms, I'm just talking like 3:29, 4:30 p.m. flashback and what it was. Or you get the message, like April 1st, nightmare related to, blah, blah, blah. And just take your paper in to your doctor and say, hey, this is what's been going on. If you have been diagnosed with PTSD or anything in the past, bring that up and get their opinion on it. Because in order to have a service dog, you must first have a disability. And there are some things that don't go, like just because you have something doesn't mean it goes to the point where you have a disability, but probably in PTSD it could, or does rather. I'm misspeaking here. Talk to your doctor about that first and tell him or her, okay? Keep that diary. It really helps. But I do want to say, because it's one of the questions on here about, where did I put it? There it is. I've had epilepsy since I was 4 years old. The seizures are better now than it was, but my mom said that it used to happen 3 to 5 times every day, and now it only happens once every several months because of medications. What I want to know is, if you have epilepsy, do you have to get a service dog? And we had some other, this was by email, so we had some other questions, and she doesn't feel like her epilepsy is to the point where it's a disability. And she's only talking about epilepsy here in this question. So it is possible to have something and it not be to the point where you're disabled. As for me, I don't have my service dog because of epilepsy. So I don't know with PTSD where it would be on the continuum, if everybody that has PTSD needs a service dog or not. So you're going to want to probably want to ask that question to your doctor as well, because it has to be the point where it's a disability. Okay. Did that help at all? Let me know. Toss it in. I don't want to like muddy the water here. Okay, another one is, how did your family react to the news? Well, my husband and daughters, I think we're just like, I think we're all just kind of numb. You know, I had some things going on that were very obviously symptoms of epilepsy. I would get confused and dazed when I would have these weird moments where all the colors would change in the room and I'd get this really weird headache. Sometimes I would get all the colors changing in the room and I have a railroad spike. It felt like just hitting me right in the eye. And then my arm would start shaking. And doctors, where I'd been assaulted, they kept saying, oh, it's stress. You know, it's nothing to worry about. It's just stress. You just need to manage your life better, go into therapy, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Well, one day I was out in public and had a seizure. Nobody knew what to do. They called 911. They took me to the hospital, and I had gone what they call status, and they could not. I was having seizures back to back and could not break them. So I was inpatient. I never remember getting to the hospital. I never remember being at the ER. I do remember waking up in the room going, what on earth? And about that time, the nurse came in and she was like, oh, how are you? You're awake. And I'm like, I'm confused. Where am I? What is this? What's going on? And then a little while later, the doctor came in and he was like, how long have you had epilepsy? And I'm like, I don't have epilepsy. I just have stress. I've just had a lot of things going on in my life, and they say it's stress, and I just need to learn how to live my life better. So no, I don't have epilepsy. He looks at the chart and he's like, okay, I'm going to ask you again. How long have you had epilepsy? And I'm like, I don't. And then he tells me that they did an EEG, which I never remember having. And the results of the EEG were positive, that he read the report himself and I had epilepsy. And I'm like, oh. So my family, when we were all kind of like, when that word came down, we were like, oh, that explains it. And, after that, like things fell into place. So my family reacted really well. They were supportive, they were positive, except for there was one person who was pretty negative about it, and that was my grandmother. And she was saying, well, you have been under a lot of stress. This is only one doctor's opinion. You can't live your life hanging your hat on what one person says. And I was like, he's got the test result, But I think like it was just her era, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, but they reacted great. They were super. Yeah, please do. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, usually I'm live at 7:30, but where I had all the tech issues, I was a little late. So, yeah, thank you for coming in. And I'm glad it helped. I am glad. Thank you. And Lori's saying, it's sad we have to get it from being assaulted. I've had to start having these conversations with my medical providers. Yeah, it with me, I just took a lot of hits to the head, and I was in the hospital for around a month, divided between two different hospitals. So we knew I had a head injury. I don't know why that the dots weren't connected sooner about epilepsy. So, yeah. And she's saying, it's funny because my EEG before being assaulted was off a bit, and no one ever discussed epilepsy with me. That is so frustrating. Medical communities don't always get it. When my daughter was struggling, I took her to several doctors, and they were just like, it's depression, it's the excitement of moving and going to a new place. And what kid is ever excited about moving, So we just had all of these things going on. And finally, I threw this quiet temper tantrum where the doctor was like, just, well, I think it's depression and we need to do this and that. And I'm going, and you're going to write for the EEG. Well, she's been through a lot with school, and now she's in middle school. So, she's at that age where boys start to, come in and get involved, and they just don't pay attention. I'm like, this is not a boy crazy girl. No. You're going to write the test for the EEG. And so we went back and forth on that. And finally, with me standing there and saying for probably the 100th time, you're going to do the EEG. You're going to order this test. And then finally, I was like, if you don't order the test, I'm taking her to someone who will. And just repeated that a few times. And finally, the doctor was like, okay, we can order this big expensive test, but it doesn't mean it's going to show anything and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they ordered the test 2 weeks after it was done. She had what was obviously a seizure, her arms jerking. I call the doctor's office. I'm standing at Duke Hospital, and I'm like, if y'all don't have this report by now, I am standing in the hospital. I will go track down medical records, and I will get that report. Little while later, they call me back, and they're like, yeah, we're sorry. Kind of messed up on this one. And then she started medication, and it changed her life. So, yeah. All right. Oh, we've got Peter Parker in the house. Hey, Peter. Good to see you. Oh, wait a minute. That's Lori saying hi to Peter Parker. So, hi, Peter. Oh, big day. Big day. He got his car paid off yesterday. That is awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. You're welcome. We're excited for you. That's big news. That's better than my news. I wrecked mine Sunday. We don't know how it's going to be. But so, yeah, congrats. Congrats. All right, let me get back into this. I kind of went on my thing there. Oh, what caused epilepsy? For me, like I said, mine was caused by a head injury, but 50% of the time, it's called idiopathic because they don't know what causes it. They don't know. So you've got it half and half, an even split. In my case, they know head injuries can cause it, but they don't know what for half of it. So yeah. All right. Next up, here we go. My son has epilepsy. Is there a magic formula for dealing with the schools? Honey girl, I wish there was. I would have used that magic formula. Only thing I can say is to arm yourself with information from your doctor, information from a reputable online source like the Epilepsy Foundation, the NIH, Cleveland Clinic, a reputable source. Take that all into the school. Talk to the school nurse in advance if you can. She or he should be, call a 504 meeting with the school, and you may have to get a little bit persistent and put it in writing, send it to the schools as a letter, return receipt if you need to, or if you feel like you need to. And that gives them a set number of days to get this done. Talk to the school nurse, get that person on board, tell him or her that you have a child that's been diagnosed with epilepsy. You need to have a plan put in place, and you want to talk to her before the meeting to see if she has any suggestions on what has worked in the past for other parents who have been this road before you. And then when you have the meeting, take the information in, get a letter from your child's doctor, make copies of it. This is one of the things that I did. Make copies of it and hand it out, and be as nice as possible. Don't come off as overly authoritative. Be firm, but be nice, because you catch more flies with honey than you do with anything. And if you don't wind up not needing to hand out those papers, let's say everybody's on board, and then don't. But if you do, you'll have them, So there's no magic formula, but that is what I have done. Now, it doesn't always work. Schools are going to do what schools are going to do. But if you have the plan put in place and they don't follow it, then you've got some teeth there, where if you don't have the plan put in place, they can say, oh, we were never told, stuff like that. So definitely take all of that information in. But just know that they're not always going to follow it. And if something goes wrong, then you can go back and you can point to the plan and you can go from there. I had a situation with my oldest daughter that I wanted her put on a plan. We changed high schools. We moved from one state to the other, so she had changed high schools. I wanted a plan put in place. They were saying she didn't need one. I wrote a letter, and she wound up, even though I had sent the letter, they hadn't done anything about it yet. We were still working on scheduling. She wound up having a seizure on the steps at school. Then the school called me and said, we need to go ahead and get this done because now she's a danger to other students. And I'm like, yeah, think? But then we had the plan put in place. They should have followed it, and one day they didn't. So I went in, loaded for bear, nicely. And I'm like, okay, remember this? Remember this plan? I have my copy of it right here. This is what we agreed to. Don't break it again. So had to be very firm. But there's no magic formula. That's just what I did that worked for me. So really, any of y'all that are listening to this, either on the live stream or later, leave your comments down below for any of these, because that's only going to help whoever comes later and sees the stream. Okay. The other part of her question is that my son is mad at all of the forced limitations like video games. He was so mad that he took the video controller, threw it, and broke it. And I won't go into the rest of that. But how do I talk to him about it? How do I, reassure him that it's going to be okay? Honestly, if this is a one-time thing where he's mad and he's getting it out of his system, then I would just sit down with him and say, hey, I know you're frustrated. I know you're scared. I know you're worried. I share some of that, and let's approach this together. If this is just a one-time thing and you can talk to him and he can, feel better and it just kind of gets out of his system, then I would just continue talking. If this does not seem to be a one-time incident, then I would get some help. I would get somebody, go and talk to a therapist, a pastor, a counselor, someone that can help walk through this with you, that has had experience with kids and chronic illnesses, chronic challenges, whatever you want to call it. Okay. There's nothing wrong with getting any kind of professional help when you need it. That's what they're for. Okay. It's all right. The other thing is about the video games. I do want to toss out there that video games are a restriction. If your child is diagnosed with epilepsy, your child may not be able to play video games for a while, or maybe not ever, but talk to your doctor, because there may be things that you can do to make it less likely that he'll have a seizure from a video game if he's photosensitive. So lots of extra light in the room. Don't be in a dark room. Brighter lights to kind of help, just something to kind of help cancel out some of the lights from the video games. That can help. But talk to your doctor about a plan for that. And hopefully it won't be forever. Usually it's not, okay? At least as far as what I know, it's usually not forever. The other one I have is, what happened when you had a seizure in public? Were you with family? No, I was not with family, which would have been a lot better. I was just out in public and I was with somebody else, and I'm just like, hey, I feel really weird. I remember saying that, and I remember them saying, okay, go ahead and sit down. And that is like the last thing that I remember for a while. Nobody seemed to know what to do except to call 911, which is fine. But when you have a seizure in public, when you have a seizure, you don't always have to call 911. It depends on the type and the severity, but mostly it's how you feel. And this particular time I'd gone status because we didn't know. So yeah, that's what happened. I was also asked, do people freak out when you tell them? No, not usually. Usually everybody's like, oh, okay. But here's the thing. Most of the people I'm around now are adults. And, by the time you reach your 50s, people in your circle have dealt with lots of things. And we just kind of get kind of numb. Nothing really much bothers us anymore when it comes to medical things. I may have a couple of people in the chat who are roughly my age or almost there. So you could let me know what you think, okay? For me, like nobody ever freaked out at my age. Hey, Hockenberry Holler is here. How are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for coming in and being here. So yeah. So all good there. The other one, oh, I've got two more. Have you ever left someplace because of fear of a seizure? I don't necessarily want to say a fear, but maybe a concern. I've had a hard time watching some movies. In fact, now when I go to some movies, I have a face mask that I take, and that helps block out the light until we get like past a scene and kind of move on. And my husband could like jab me saying, you can take it off now. Because like I have problems when Cars came out, super cute movie. But the way the lights and things were done right at the beginning when it first started, and they were kind of going through this, I don't know if it's a tube or whatever, because I didn't see the whole part. But yeah, I started getting a headache and instantly that was going to be bad. So if my face mask had not filtered that out for me, then I would have left. Some places will have signs up. Like if you go to an amusement park, like Walt Disney World is amazing for this. And they'll say, we have strobes or seizure alert signs. And then I know to just avoid those. So I wouldn't say that's a fear. I would say that's a healthy awareness. So no, not really. I just kind of watch what's going on and pay attention to those things. And, so no, I haven't. What are you doing? Hi there. Hi there. Did you bring me something? Huh? I can't play right now. I'm so sorry. Okay, we have Super Pipsy here. You can see his tail here. Yeah, he's brought me a toy. Anybody want to play? Sorry, pup. Go find Dad. Go on. Sorry about that. Okay. See, have you ever left someplace because no? Oh, something that I will say I've done is I've gotten up in a restaurant. I've moved tables because there has been one of the things that bothers me is I'm photosensitive, so lights bother me. And when you get like trees and you've got sunshine flickering through those, they can bother me. I don't have a seizure, but I start to get a weird headache. So I have, several times told my husband, hey, we need to switch seats. And he always does, no problem. So I have done that. Let's see. Hey, the Service Dog channel is in. How are you? She said, I would just ask what might happen and what do you want me to do if you have a seizure? Perfection. Perfect. That you are never going to go wrong doing that. Thank you. Okay. They're not going to change. And I'm glad you're here too. So yeah. Sorry, you all. I'm getting sidetracked here. So this is, I want to toss out that this is the right way to respond. If someone tells you that they have epilepsy, just ask. If someone trusts you enough for them to tell you that they have epilepsy, they're putting a lot of faith in their friendship, in that friendship, and they're putting a lot of faith in you because that's an honor, okay? And the way you respond as a friend will make a difference on whether or not this person feels like they can be successful in telling the next friend without that person freaking out. So the service dog channel, I want everybody to look at this and pay attention because this is perfect. Ask what might happen and what you want me to do. That's the way to respond. And let me take this. Okay. And I have one more question to respond to that I was asked. Okay. We've been emailing back and forth about this one. And the person says, I want a rescue puppy. I'm going to get one next month. I don't know what kind. We're going to the pound and I'm going to pick one out. I am finally 18 years old. My mom is not supportive. None of my family is on board, but I think I would benefit from a service dog. I want to train it to alert to seizures. Where do I get started and what do I do? And I have just turned 18 and I will be moving out soon. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. And wow. Okay, first off, is your epilepsy a disability? Or do you just have epilepsy? A lot of people, like I just put on one of my shorts that there was a survey done of people who have epilepsy. 38% of the people responded that they have the disability, which means 62% of the people didn't. So the first thing you need to do is go talk to your doctor and decide together if your epilepsy has reached to the point where it is actually a disability. It is not legal for you to have a service dog if you don't have a disability, because the first question you can be asked is this a service dog required because of a disability? Okay, so that's one. The next one is you're going to go to a pound and pick out a puppy. I applaud you, okay, for rescuing a dog. I totally applaud you for that. But there are tests that need to be done on young dogs and puppies to determine whether they have the personality to maybe be successful as a service dog. This is not an end-all test. This is an early test to see if they have the personality that might be successful. When you get a pound puppy, you don't know that dog's lineage. You don't know how damaged it is, and you don't know how the health is of the dog. Not just emotional health, but structural health. And you need to have a dog, if you're going to have a service dog, it has to be able to be calm. It has to be able to walk and be out for long periods, especially if you're a student or you're going to look at going to college. Then you have to make sure that the hip and the bone structure and everything is fine so they can do that kind of work. So I'm not completely saying don't go to the pound and get the rescue dog get the dog and rescue it to be a puppy. You certainly can, but talk to a trainer first and get that trainer to help you, to either teach you the test or to go with you. Then take the dog, and you're going to have to pay some money out for this, okay? Take the dog to the vet. Beyond spaying, neutering, and shots and everything that the dog has to have, your dog needs to have some x-rays done to check out the hips and the backs and the shoulders and the knees and make sure that structurally that dog is going to be sound. Then you can work on training. Now, you're indicating that you want to train the dog yourself, and you can do that. You can train a dog on lots and lots of things. I strongly suggest working with a trainer, at least to get you started, if nothing else, just to make sure that you get started off well. But you cannot train a dog to alert for seizures. You can train your dog to respond if you have a seizure. But that's kind of tough because you're not going to see yourself having a seizure most of the time. If you have absence seizures, for example, and that's where your mind just turns off for anywhere from 15 seconds to a minute or longer, you're not going to know what your behaviors are. So you really need to have another person who can help you with that, to help you train the dog to be responsive. And so I'm a little concerned when you say that your family is not supportive, because you're going to need somebody's help and you're going to need them to be supportive. Okay. As far as training the dog for seizures, I want to say that comes out of your bonding. Your dog may alert to your seizures, but you're going to have to be pretty well bonded as a team, which means your dog has to want to understand you, and your dog has to have the ability, but you also have to be able to understand your dog and have the ability to recognize when your dog alerts, how he alerts, and what's wrong, and then work on it from there. So that's a big deal. The other thing is, and you haven't said this any of the times that we've talked back and forth, but I really want you to understand that if you get a puppy, it's a service dog in training until the dog is trained. You can expect 18 months to 2 years, depending on the breed of your dog. And that is standard. It does not matter if you go to the pound and pick out a puppy and train it yourself, or if you get one from a program. Puppies only grow and mature. I said this earlier too. Puppies are only going to grow and mature so fast. So you need to realize that you're going to have to make plans in your life. You can't just take this puppy everywhere. So have some plans for what will you do if you need to go into a store, for example, or a doctor's office or somewhere, and your dog's not trained and you can't take it in. So then what do you do? Because some states grant access rights to service dogs in training and some do not. So if you're in a state that does not, what is your plan? Think about that. I'm going to go back over here to the chat. Let's see. Hockenberry Holler says, the strobe of light from the tree while driving makes me car sick. That too, I've had that, because that light coming through the trees on a bright summer day, that mimics a strobe. So yeah. Living Positively says, can you get these tests done at the pound? You really need to do these yourself, or have a trainer that's used to it to do them for you, because these are not like vet tests. These are things like putting pennies in a can and shaking it. How does the dog react? Is the dog scared or is the dog curious? How does the dog react when you pick it up? If it's a small puppy and you put it over on his back and scratch its tummy, How does the dog respond to that? Does he respond well? Does he act playful, or does he act fearful? So it's things like that. There are variations of it, so I would really suggest looking online and talking to a trainer. Let's see. The Service Dog channel says, many service dog companies have stopped using rescue dogs because of their personality traits that are much more difficult to train, and have switched to breeders because they can breed for personality. And this is huge. There are people who've been successful getting a rescue dog from a pound and training it, but they're unpredictable. And especially if you get a dog that's slightly older, 3, 4, 5 months on up into full adulthood and beyond, there's just no way to know their temperament because you have nothing to go on. So, and yeah, we understood that was many, not many. Let's see. Can a dog tell if you're becoming disoriented? I think Pipsy can. And I can also, like, if I catch myself being disoriented, I can tell Pipsy, find out, take me out. Sorry, he just showed up with a treat again. With a toy again. And he'll do that. So he'll kind of ground me. And that helps me become disoriented, because one of my things about just the head injury and the processing now, I get really confused and really turned around, and I can get lost in a paper bag, if y'all have heard that term. So I really need that. And I think he can tell, but I'm so confused myself, I don't know for sure. But when I realize I am, then he can definitely take me out. But Pipsy's really super intuitive, and yeah, I think he can. Tanya Lambert's in the house. Hey, Tanya. Welcome. It's good to see you again. Oh, yeah, thank you. I haven't said that once. By the way, you all, like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Thanks, Tanya. It's really interesting with service dogs and how they react. I think I've shared on the channel before. So those of you who have already heard this, please bear with me. But those of you who haven't might find it interesting. I have not had a seizure in 20 years, at least, maybe closer to 30. Anyway, it's been a while. And a couple of years ago, Christmas, actually, a year ago, long around Thanksgiving, Pipsy just started alerting, and he wouldn't quit. He would go off, he'd play for a little bit, he'd come back, and he was alerting. We would go for a walk, he would stop, he would alert, and I would go through all of the top things, like, is my blood sugar okay? Check it. Okay, fine. Shoot, go away. And he'll come back and, alert again. Check my O2 sats. Everything's fine. And, just check everything I need to. So I made some little videos of him alerting, and I just could not figure out why. So I made the videos thinking I had a training issue going on. Well, this was Christmas. I didn't have a lot of time, and I'd been tired. I've been headachy. So I told my husband, I said, after Christmas, when they're back in after the first of the year, I'm going to contact the lady who's the head of the program. And she's wonderful, but she can be a little difficult to get in touch with. But I'm going to tell her, I'm sending her the video clips and tell her I've got a training issue. So he thought, okay, great. It's a good idea. In the meantime, my annual checkup with my neurologist was just the first few days of the year. So she, of course, asked how I'm doing, and I tell her, and she's like, you know how doctors like, and they're writing. And she says, how's your dog been? because she was like really into dogs. And I told her, I'm like, well, he keeps alerting at me and I don't know why. So I'm going to be contacting the program and telling them that I have a training issue. So yeah, that's what's going on and whatnot. And she goes, oh, and you said you've been having headaches? Yes. And kind of tired? Yes. Well, I think you're having some seizure activity and we need to go ahead and change your medicines. I hate it when the doctors are right. I do. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes it's good for them to be right. But this time I was like, okay, fine. We'll change the medicine. I'll get back in touch with you at the 6-week point. Okay, great. Yeah, about 3 weeks after she changed my medicine and upped it, his behavior changed. He went back to being normal. So I don't know how dogs can tell, but he's super intuitive, and he could tell that. And there was a few extra times where I got confused in stores and stuff, but I was just totally blaming it on Christmas. I didn't know he was trying to tell me something, but I do now. So let's get back in here. Tanya says, I'm saving up to get a second one, but it's going to take a while. Yeah, they are not expensive. I mean, they are not cheap. They are expensive. But when I was checking for him, I had owner trained with trainers for my first one. So when we looked at getting the next one, I started calling around, and it was actually going to be cheaper to get him already trained from a program than it was going to be for me to train with trainers. So, you factor in too, you're losing the first year to 18 months of your dog's life because your dog can't work. Well, you've got a year to 18 months at least, or about that anyway, on a training program. So you're losing the same amount of time. It's just that while you're losing that working time with your service dog, you're also paying for vet bills, food, and total care, and treats, and toys, and the crate, and then the other crate if he outgrows the first one, and the training classes and everything. And you don't have a dog that's working. So factor all that in, and it was a lot less expensive for me to get him from a program, which is CARES. So if you all buy my book, you'll see the little blurb about CARES on the back of the book, because I think they did a really good job. There are times that any program is going to be frustrating for you, but Tanya here was great to answer my questions and help me walk in with my eyes wide open. And I appreciate that a lot, Tanya. So, excuse me just a second. Hold on here. Oh, okay. I was hearing noises. I have now decided that's my husband and not my dog. I hope I'm right. Okay, he is. Okay. Tanya says, Archie is very much a retired guy. He's loving to play, but I feel better having a service dog. I hear you. That length of time that I was in between service dogs really opened my eyes as to how much I need a service dog. I thought when Tomlin passed away, I thought, okay, I'll be okay. I'll make it all right without a dog. And then I saw pretty quickly, nope. And yeah. Tanya says, I prefer company trained because that way if it washes out, it's not going to be me out of the money. Yep, that's huge. The other thing is, personally, I wanted a prison trained dog. That's how CARES came to my attention at first, because they're a prison training program. When you have a prison trained dog, you get 24/7 training because a dog is Velcroed to that inmate. And prison dog training programs really also provide a chance for bad people to do something good. And you get that 24/7 training. If you train your own dog, you're not going to give it 24/7 training. You're going to go to class once a week, maybe twice a week. And you're just not going to train it like you will if you have nothing to do all day and all day to do it. It's just life happens, and you've got school, you've got work, and other things going on that put demands on your time. So it's just not going to get that level of training. Also, on cost, I do want to go back and say that there are programs that provide dogs for free in certain circumstances. So if you're a veteran or a first responder and you have PTSD, look into programs that train dogs specifically for that. They operate on donations, and they're able to place dogs oftentimes at no cost. Same thing if you're blind, check with Guide Dogs at the Blind for the same reason. Okay. Knowing that. Tanya says she prefers having a service dog, that it's been very difficult without one. It's been hard without him, but he loves playing. And she also will tell Archie to find the exit. And she says, Archer still helps with flashbacks and seizure alerts, but I feel better in public. If I have him with me, I don't know how to describe that, but it's like it's easier for me to interact with people. I feel much safer with the surface on. I'm hoping, though, since I already bought one through CARES, will bring it to me when I get them. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to contact them and see. Were you having partial seizures? No, I don't think so, but it's kind of hard to tell. She said it was this. I'm going back and talking about when he kept alerting. She called it subclinical, that I was having seizure activity, but hadn't necessarily had a seizure yet, at least not to the grand mal level like my seizures usually are. Okay. Tanya says your scent changes with different things like seizures. And she says Archer is from CARES. Yep. Archer is actually also in my book, just saying. Thank you for letting me use him. And she said, well, I know, let me go put this up. Well, I know I saw no sense in giving you just good. You have to have an informed decision. And you did a great job on that. You did a fabulous job. And that is important to me, to have the whole well-rounded picture. When I selected CARES, I looked at your opinion. I looked at what I read. But also, CARES has a nonprofit side that supports their service dog program. And so I pulled their IRS 990 paperwork and looked for reviews and did everything I could. And then Tanya was able to help a lot too. I really have been very pleased with him. At the first, it was rough, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was ready to send him back at a couple of times. But a large part of that, looking back, was just us getting to know each other. And it's like having a new coworker. You have to learn how your coworker is when you're on the job, and having your service dog is the same way. And now, within a couple of months, I would say he became a fabulous service dog, and he is still a fabulous service dog. And he's going to undergo a career change. I'm assuming that my back is going to be okay, because he was supposed to have career change this month, but I was told I can't travel. And this summer, at some point, he's going to career change, and he is going to be going the therapy dog route, and I'll have another dog that's coming in and doing my service dog work. With this hurricane that we have had, Helene has just, I'm still collecting cleaning supplies, folks. $10 if you want to sponsor a cleaning supply bundle for a hurricane survivor, because it has just, she rolled in and Helene just decimated a good portion of our county. And since that happened, I cannot go to the grocery store without people trying to pet him over and over and over. You always have some of that. This is the worst I have ever seen it. And it's just because of the stress that people are under. So it's really shown us the need for a therapy dog. And so we made the decision sometime back that he was not going to, he just didn't need to be a service dog. He's got a little problem that he's developed, like with his hip. And so he still likes being around people a lot, and he still likes to work. And he was going to go out to my daughter out in New Mexico. But since the hurricane has come in, he is going to be changing roles. And the way the CARES program works, he's already had the training to be a therapy dog. So it's going to be easy to slide him into that role where he can help a lot of people that way. So we're going to be going places, I'm sure, and I'm going to be, don't pet this dog, pet this one. So I'm really glad, though. So, yeah. She says she saw no sense in doing just good. You have to have an informed decision. Yes. And I am glad, Tanya, that you did, and I'm glad I chose CARES, especially after having talked to a lot of people who went to a lot of other programs. That's something that really good that YouTube has opened up the door to have happen. And you hear the bad and you hear the good and everything all together. And I just feel like, for me, I made the right choice, and appreciate you helping me on that path. But I just, the first night that I tossed out, if anybody has a service dog, where is it from? And she said CARES. I was just like, my heart just started throbbing because I'd already been looking at CARES. Because there's not that many programs that have the prison training. The Service Dog channel says, I just applied for a new dog. Yay! That's exciting. It's scary too, isn't it? So, do you want to say anything about the program or what kind of dog you're hoping to get? If you want to keep that private, I totally get that too. And Tanya's saying, I hate to say this, but I really hated the prison training part. When we go to the prison, it totally freaked me out. I didn't get to go. They said our class was so large that they couldn't get us processed in a timely manner. I think there were also things going on in the prison, maybe some, I don't want to say changing of the guard, but maybe some new staff or whatever. So we didn't get to go. But I've done jail ministry, and I have been in jails before, and it can be kind of intimidating when those steel doors slam shut behind you and you're told take nothing in but an ID, and you're told how you can dress. And, you know, it can be a little intimidated. So I can see why you were scared to death. That makes complete sense to me. I hope you get your new dog. Service our channel. Keep us surprised. Yes. Keep us informed, rather. And yeah, she even said keep us informed. Tanya says, yeah, that didn't work for me because I needed multiple disability training. That's how I found CARES. That and a friend suggested CARES. He's a love bug. Yeah, we both have love bugs, which is, that's just the best way to be. Let's see. Tanya says, I had a well-informed decision from a friend. Also, they do multiple disability training. I just choose which disability. Some places don't do multiple disability trainings. They train one way for one thing, and that's how they do it. Let's see. Was going to be active that day. Everything around me, they only did one disability, and I was like, that doesn't work. That's how CARES really did what I needed. Okay. We had some tornadoes come through here and estimated, I'm going to say decimated probably, a few places too. Really did a lot of damage, but my house is okay, thank God. I am glad. They're scary because tornadoes just zip and zap. You can get vests on Amazon that say, I can be pet or don't pet me. You can, but the literacy rate of a lot of people in the U.S. when it comes to service dogs, they drops like a rock. I did not like going to that prison. I get it because it can be, I haven't been into a prison, but I know just going into a jail can be really intimidating. When that door slams shut, it I don't know, it just something about it, and you're locked in, but you have a good backup. Like the whole prison staff is there, so the odds of something happening are nil, but still, it's a little intimidating. The Service Dog Channel. MST/PTSD from America's Vet Dogs. They gave me some requirements I have to fulfill and then apply again in 6 months. Story was from Freedom Service Dogs, but America's Vet Dogs provides everything. I'm just fabulously glad that they do, because honestly, our vets, you deserve the whole world, and I am really glad that they can provide everything. Okay, let me go back. American's Vet Dogs gives you a room on campus, free meals, and pays all travel expenses. You can't ask for better than that. That's amazing. Yay! I'm really glad that they do that. And that's something I probably should talk about. It wasn't on the list of questions that I put together, but let's see, Tanya says people don't listen. Good luck, Service Dog Trail. Okay. Most of the programs, when you're looking at program trained service dogs, most of them require that you go and you stay on campus with them, whether it's for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Nobody pays for that. So this is astounding. I do think maybe Guide Dogs for the Blind or one of the guide dog programs might, but that doesn't happen every day. So, but they all do require for you to go to them for a set amount of time. That's out of your pocket. The travel there is out of your pocket, and it's on you. But you have to do it because your dog is trained, but you have to be trained on how to work with your dog. And I will say that the first one that I had, Tomlin, I worked with him with trainers. They were very, very good. If they were still in business, I would have to really consider using them more. But she had a stroke and she was disabled. So it was a husband and wife team and they didn't continue. But there was a difference in how they trained Tomlin versus how Pipsy was trained. And a lot of the things that they did were the same, but the commands were completely different. So I had to relearn. The time I spent there was valuable. I did talk to somebody from a training program that had their dog trained through a program, And the trainer came out to them and flew out, spent, I think she said 2 weeks with them in their house and going to restaurants and stuff. And all of that was on the family to pay for. So I think she said their dog was like $20,000, and then they had to pay another $8,000 out of pocket to pay all of the trainer's expenses to come out to be there with them. And they had to go to restaurants, they had to go to Walmart, different places like that. And we had to do all of that at CARES. Well, the difference is, you're going to them versus them coming to you. So you're in a class with a lot of different people, and you can bounce ideas off of each other and connect, and there's some camaraderie versus, and you still have to go to restaurants and so forth. But the difference is, I think there's value in being able to connect with other people. And for me, that wouldn't have been a good choice. They were happy with their choice, but just know that there may be some extra expenses that you're going to have a really good talk with your program about and say, okay, what's not covered? And I like that CARES put it very upfront. Hey, you got to come out here and you got to pay for that. Now, they did not tell me that we had to go out to eat, so Tanya filled in that blank for me, because when I travel, I have the van or the RV, and I cook in the van or the RV, or, do some basic stuff there. I wasn't prepared to go out to eat, 2 meals a day until Tanya warned me. So, yeah. So, all right. I could go back to Freedom Service Dogs, but the 2-week placement class is completely at my own expense. With the other program covering all of those expenses, it's going to be hard not to go with them. I mean, since you qualify and everything, and you've got this wonderful gift of being with them at no cost, heck yeah. Tanya says that's what happened to Archer. I said someone couldn't pet him, and they stomped on his foot with cleats and injured the tendons in his paw. I hope the heck that you called the police and filed charges. I would. I am just like so overprotective of Pipsy. I would have. Yes, Service Dog Channel. That's how it is with CARES, the stay, and everything's in your pocket. Archer, yep. How are you doing? Hanging in there. Tony says, I told one person that asked me about service dogs. She said she couldn't handle people coming up to them, and that's not right for you. You have to be able to handle public coming up just out of the blue. Yes. And honestly, okay, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be unpopular with somebody, but there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. And that is, if you have bad anxiety, a service dog may not be for you. Because when you go out and you have a service dog, not only are you, number one, telling the world that you have some type of disability, but you have people coming up to you asking to pet the dog. Sometimes they say no. You say no and they accept that. Sometimes you say no and you have to say it firmly, repeatedly. Always be nice, though. And you need to realize that before getting a service dog. In some ways, it's going to trigger your anxiety a little bit more because of all the people coming up to you. So you need to realize that before you get a service dog. Okay. Very important. When I went to get Archer, I was on a liquid diet. CARES is ADI certified, right? No, they're not. And that so far has not been a problem for me. But if I traveled internationally, it would be. But they are not. They do follow like that same public access test and things like that. And I understand at one point they might have been. This is talking from somebody else who got a dog from CARES like years and years ago. They might have been at one point, but there's some expense apparently going into that, and I don't know why, but they're not. Let's see. Tanya says, I didn't have to. The vet came over to get Archer himself, and Archer got the surgery for free. The vet filed charges. Okay. I got Archer a puppy because he was sad and upset not working. That's his puppy. She's cute too. Yeah, I agree. If you have trouble with public interaction, it would not be right for you. And she says, Service Dog Channel says, sometimes when you say no, they can't pet your dog, they get angry and say you're rude. They do. And yeah, I guess I get kind of rude back. I just go, well, that's how it is, and goodbye. But one thing I have done that makes a really big difference is I made these cards, and they're not, I wish I had one in front of me right now. But the cards that I made are not the ones that say, ADA access required and kind of in your face. They say, coming at it from the dog's perspective, hey, I'm Pipsy. I'm sorry I can't play right now because I'm working. I am a trained service dog. I can go most places that my mom can go by ADA. And I forget exactly now what the rest of it says, but the cards are 1/4 size sheet of paper, and I put his paw print, actual paw print, on each card. It's not a copy. So sometimes the prints come out better than others. So when people start to get rude, I can say, I'm sorry, I can't talk. I would love to, and I'm sorry you can't pet the dog. I'd love to let you, but I can give you his pawtograph, and here's some information about him, and I hand it to him as I'm walking away. Or if it's kids, I'll stand there and talk to them for a minute and tell them, hey, this is what this card is, and this is his pawtograph. It's an autograph made from a paw, and that's really cool, and it says something about it. So here you go. That's kind of a present for being a really great kid and understanding you can't pet him. And they really like that. The parents have always responded favorably. One grandmother came back over and thanked me for giving the cards to her grandkids because it gave her an opening. It was a teaching moment, and she really thanked me. And we had a good conversation there. It was really, really nice. And I have them in his saddlebags. So, but if you all are interested, I can get you a copy of that. I mean, you're going to want to phrase it up for yourself, but for me, it's been really helpful to have it. And it is kind of a pain to make it, but it's worth it. And that does a lot of diffusing right there too. I'll toss that out. Service Dog Channel, ADA certified, you mean? I think so. I can't remember. No, ADA is a little different, and CARES doesn't participate. Tony says, this was a lady's 12-year-old kid that got mad because I couldn't let him pet Archer, or rather I wouldn't. You can't, you can't let them pet your dog all the time. It's like I explained to one lady, and she was like, well, it's only one time. And I was like, no, it's one time of you petting him in this moment. On aisle B, somebody else will want to pet him. Aisle C, it can happen again. Aisle D, it can happen again. So I got her to understand that it was one time with her, but it was over and over and over. And cumulative. The more somebody tries to pet your dog or stands there and tries to get your dog's attention, the more, if they realize what's going on, the more the dog will want to look for that attention. And so pretty soon he starts turning his head every which way, and it becomes a problem and you got to nip it in the bud right at the beginning. Service Dog Channel says, I have to use an ADI certified organization if I want the VA to pay all veterinarian bills. Flea, tick, heartworm, dental cleaning, shots, illness, injury, prescriptions, 100% free. They're fabulous, but I don't really need it because I don't travel internationally and nobody is picking it up. The IRS has accepted everything that we've turned in as far as like for taxes and stuff. And we were able to show that, this is a program dog. It's not one that I'm just claiming to be a service dog. So yeah, it's not going to work if I travel internationally. Let's see. Archer got hurt pretty badly. The vet came to get him at Walmart. The vet made her pay for it, took her credit card right there in the store information and filed a report. That's pretty unusual. That's to have a vet come out and to have her whip out that credit card. That's real unusual. I'm glad. I still would have filed charges though. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Gail, I'd love to see those cards. Okay. I still have your email address, right? I can email those to you. Let me make a note. I think I do. If not, if you'll email your email address to me, there's my email address. So if you don't hear from me in a little while after this, then you'll know I can't find your email address, which honestly, since the hurricane came in, everything has been crazy. And then with everything happening in my life since the first of the year, ever since I broke my back and all these medical things have come up and wrecking the car last week and stuff, my life is turmoil. So bear with me on that, okay? Tanya says, well, seizure alert. I try not to let him get distracted, and Archer has always been easily distracted, so I told him no pets. They are awesome service dog channel. Yes. You've never heard of ADI. Oh, gosh. ADI is Assistance Dogs International, and they're kind of an international body that a lot of a lot of countries respect and sometimes even require your dog to be an ADI certified program, from an ADI certified program to be able to come into the country. I was actually looking at that. I thought I was going to have the opportunity to go out of the country, but the hurricane wrecked that. So no going to the UK for me. That's awesome that you get tax credit. Yeah, it's a medical expense. So if your medical expenses get to a certain percentage of your income, then you can deduct a certain percentage of those expenses, is the way our tax person explained it to me. And so the IRS took all of that. So, and for me, it's not hard to hit that percentage. Darn it. Dr. Cooney, the vet, he knows Archer really well, and he's a good friend. I've known him for 20 years. That's awesome. Hey, Busy Lady's in the house. Hey, Busy. Did you? Okay. Yeah, I don't know that you've seen it yet, but this cleaning bundle behind me is the very one that you sponsored. So that's what your $10 went to. I don't know if I showed you. I'm going to hop up and I'm going to show you again just to make sure you see it. Oh. Give me a second. Y'all, I'm trying to get 30 cleaning bundles to give out to hurricane victims and some of our general community people here. And Busy Lady sponsored the first one. So a bucket, sponges, a concentrate cleaner. This one's Lysol. Gloves, spray bottle, and 2 bottles of cleaning vinegar. This is what they're recommended for mold cleanup. So 2 of those. So thank you, Busy Lady. Super excited about that. And I wanted to make sure you knew it. I didn't know if you actually saw it the other day. I showed it, but I wasn't sure you were in yet. So thank you. You have Cash App. I donate $10. I don't know if I do or not. That's a good question. I've been using PayPal. Let me look. It seems like I have, at least in the past, but I'll have to double check that. Thank you. You used PayPal. Okay. No, I hadn't seen it. Well, you have now. This is the very one. And Big Tom's Van sponsored 5, and Lori sponsored 1. And you guys, it's such a blessing. And we had somebody through this channel, and she wants to be anonymous, but she donated laundry detergent sheets for 2,000 loads of laundry. Now that's when you call it 2,000 small loads. So you really have to use like 2 or 3 sheets for a large load. But it's so awesome. And we had people at church who got together and helped me divide those into bags so each family can get 5 loads of laundry detergent. So we're going to offer those to the entire community at the same time we do give away the cleaning bundles. So, and this is huge because people are just now able to get into their houses to do the bigger cleaning now that the weather's getting warm. We've had just so much snow this year. So thank you. Anyway, Tanya says, I don't have PayPal. I get it. I understand. Even watching the videos help. Y'all know how this goes. But I'm so excited. And I do want to say, and I know this is way off service dog topic, and I'm sorry, not sorry on it. You all have been amazing. The help that our YouTube channel has done for our community has been life-changing and transformative. Kids, there are some kids that would not, let me see what's going on here. I think it's flickering. When we did the toys at Christmas, there are kids that, according to their parents, would not have had a Christmas was it not for us. And we had, we gave away 34 turkeys. We also had some little grocery store gift cards for a small amount. But we had those that we were giving out, as well as the turkeys and as well as the toys. And we had donations. Valerie brought a lot of socks when she came. So we had 100 pairs of socks that we gave away, and the jackets and the hats and the gloves and the scarves and all these things for kids to stay warm. It was huge. And we had tiers, and Big Tom had donated some of the solar chargers for phones, and I cannot tell you what a difference this made. And the cleaning supplies originally and things, you all have just been amazing. And I can't thank you enough. And the sleeping bags and the blankets, oh my gosh. When you have half of the county without electricity for a month, every sleeping bag helps. And the heaters, y'all are awesome. Let me go back up here. Yeah, I've done some videos on these and some shorts. It's been amazing. We had 183. Now we're in a small community, rural Appalachia, extreme corner of Tennessee. Our child poverty rate going into this was incredible. And we lost our county's major employers due to the hurricane. And we've had a lot of smaller businesses that have gone under. And so I don't know what our child poverty rate is now, but we were already 92 out of 95 counties at the bottom of the economic pile. And you think, oh, well, a $10 cleaning bundle isn't that much. But when you have a family that's got one or two people out of work and all the expenses, and FEMA is just being FEMA, and the only people who have been seen on the ground less than FEMA is TEMA, Tennessee Emergency Management. It's transformative. I've got a video that's in process, and you guys, I did videos at first about how the water came in and stuff, and you see some of the floodwaters. But the video that I'm working on now, we went to somebody's house the other day and seeing the destructiveness. Like there's one place, and it's in the video, and our county could not afford to buy an actual bridge, and this one little area was just cut off completely from the county. So they brought in a railroad car, the flat bottom part of the railroad car, and that's the bridge now. You'll see the video. It's part of our county is doing fine. That's pretty much in the city itself, because our infrastructure in the city is much better than what it is in the county. And it's unbelievable that we still have trees falling. But even the other day, our electricity was off. It wasn't off for long. I think maybe about an hour, but other places in the community lost it for longer. And that's because the trees fell during Helene, and like one would catch on another one. And then you'd have like more wind or whatever come along, like even a couple of weeks ago, and knock that tree down. And then you have two trees down and taking power lines and stuff with it. So, we've still got problems, but every cleaning bundle that we give out, every laundry detergent packet that we give out, it's not a cleaning bundle. It's hope. It's some reminder that things are going to get better. And Samaritan's Purse has been phenomenal here. UMCOR has been phenomenal. The Baptist Association has been phenomenal. We've had workers come in, not kidding here. They have come from the Bahamas, and they came in pretty much immediately. And those poor guys that were from the Bahamas, they come in, it's all tropical. And what happens while they're here? It snows. So they were all real excited at first because they'd never seen snow before. And they were taking selfies and sending pictures home. And then they realized, oh, yeah, it's freezing. And it was a lot colder to them than it was to us. And it was pretty darn cold to us. And we've had some folks from Canada and just all over the country. We've had teams from Texas. We could not heal without you. So anyway, let me get off that and get back to the chat here. Let's see. Service Dog Channel says, we're expecting severe weather in a couple of hours. Then it's headed in your direction. No, maybe it'll wear itself out before it gets here. We actually had more flooding about a month ago. Some houses that did not sustain damage through Hurricane Helene sustained damage from the flooding a month ago, and they don't have any help because it wasn't a declared disaster. So like volunteer teams are helping them, but as far as like funding from other sources, FEMA, anybody, unless it's volunteers, they don't have help. And so fortunately, they've had some teams that have been able to go and help muck out their house, but it's really frustrating. But anyway, so please let the storms spin out before they get here. It'd be nice if they spun out before it got to you. And now we're having problems. We've had a few fires in our county. Not like South Carolina, not like North Carolina, but we're going to hit that, I'm afraid, if we're not really careful, because all these trees that are down, they're drying, and now they are dried firewood, and we got hillsides of it. So we're anticipating some rough weather if we can't, some rough fire weather if we can't get this up. But anyway. Tony says, I don't know if this is an idea or not, but some people might benefit from, there's a little tool that cuts seat belts or brakes in windows in a car, like if you're in a wreck or something like that. Yeah, I actually had one in the van when I wrecked the other day. I didn't need it. And I realized that from where I found it, if I had needed it, I wouldn't have been able to get it. So I've got to figure out a better way to do that. Yeah, it'll actually be on the book that I sent you. Yeah, sharing is a big deal too. I like PayPal because they don't charge a fee. You know what? I think you're the last person that sent it without a fee, because Lori said she couldn't send it friends and family anymore. And my husband needed to send me some money to bail me out the other day, and he had to pay a fee too. So when I called PayPal about it, they have had me switch over to a business profile because I've gotten some donations and stuff in, and yeah, so now I can't get it without a fee, but I can still get it. So I appreciate it. Yeah, but I don't have a PayPal account anymore. That's fine. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. I keep forgetting to say that. Wow, amazing people. Yeah. And you will absolutely, like, when you see this video and you see some of the damage, like there was this beam that's steel or iron or something. And I don't remember which one it is, but it's steel or iron. It used to be straight, but the force of the water bent it into a U shape. And it is probably 15, 20 feet long at minimum. And it just bent it like it was nothing. You'll see the video as soon as I get it done. Samaritan's Purse was amazing for my friends in Sulphur, Oklahoma, where their house was damaged in a tornado. I tell you, I knew nothing about Samaritan's Purse before the hurricane, and I will now be singing their praises forever. They were literally the first people on the ground here helping, and they were in the hardest hit area of our county. And you all have to understand, we border North Carolina. We border the northwest section of North Carolina. We had people without power, no kidding, for a month. No kidding. And we were having to go door to doors on horseback, ATVs, you name it, to actually get to people, because all services were down, and we're talking about them being down for a month. So weeks into this, they were still going door by door and delivering water and food and stuff, and they were the first ones down. They're still here. They're saying they're going to be here through the duration. Salvation Army was here. Red Cross was here for a couple of weeks. Now they're helping some with long-term recovery, but Red Cross closed with half the county without electricity and snow coming in the following week without notice. Y'all probably saw my video on that. But anyway, no love lost there. But Samaritan's Purse, oh my gosh, there's no way to shout their praises enough. Unbelievable. I'm so glad they were here. Tanya Lambert says, Service Star Channel, you can keep the bad weather. I want to object. Yep. And she says, sorry, my speech to text isn't working right. I get that. Busy, thank you so much for coming in. Got to get going. Nice seeing you. It's been nice seeing you too. Thank you. Service Dog Channel says, ha, Tanya, we're under a tornado watch, but I have a tornado shelter and a weather alert radio. Good for you. Good for you. I tell you, I got a weather radio and was not really sure that I liked it. I'm going to get another one, but that one was a huge help. When I really needed it, it came through. Might go live later if anyone's up. We might be. We might kind of look for you on that one. Tanya says, we don't have anywhere to go except the closet, so I hope you keep the bad weather. Busy says, thanks, Tanya. Tanya said, I had never heard of Samaritan's Purse. I had not either. This was the first time I'd ever heard of them, first time I'd ever worked with them. They have been, oh my gosh, they have been the nicest people. Like, I obviously have not talked to every single worker that came, but all of the ones that I have talked to have been just super nice, big-hearted, wonderful people, and it's amazing what they've done. Like, we had it where water actually pushed cars into trees. I am not kidding. And moved culverts, and then cars landed on top of culverts, but they're now several feet up, and it's like, how do you get the car off? And they have dealt with all of that, and they're just really valued here. Just text me your address when you get a chance, please, Gail. If I forget and you don't get that, remind me, okay? I am still so upheaval right now. I don't know which ends up. But I did find out one of the millions of appointments that I've had lately. At least I got good news on my EEG. That came out to be normal. But I got a little frustrated over medical care. My old neurologist, I want to say old, my previous neurologist retired this past Christmas, a year after she diagnosed me as having problems almost. And so she sent me over to this other doctor, and he's an epileptologist. And actually, I saw the nurse practitioner. But when we got to the part about my memory problems, get this. She says, "Oh, I need to send you to a neurologist." And I'm like, "Am I not talking to a neurologist?" And she's like, "Yeah, but we do epilepsy." So for the memory stuff, she sent me to another neurologist. And he's like, "Yeah, sometimes you're kind of slow and sometimes your words don't come out right." And I'm like, "You think?" So now he wants to do some other testing. Have you all ever heard of it though, where something was like so specialized that a specialist only did like the one thing, like epilepsy? And I'm just like so flabbergasted that they sent me to another neurologist. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. They're all nice, and both of them seemed really, really sharp. But I'm like, I don't need another doctor in the mix. And like next week, I have to go for a bone scan and for to check the bone density, not one like I've had before. And then next week, I have to go do that. And then I have to go to neurointervention on my back. And I'm like, so I've got a neurosurgeon. I'm going to neurointervention. I'm going to a neurologist for epilepsy and a neurologist for other neurology things. It just seems like it's a little bit much. Do you need personal care items as well to give out? No, we're okay on that. We actually have people sent in enough. It's through Encore and it was hygiene kits. People sent in enough that we gave out several hundred to hurricane survivors, and then more came in, and we actually went to the middle school and we provided hygiene kits to kids at the middle school. That way they don't have to worry about leaving stuff at home. They can just keep it at the school. And then more came in. This is most all of this is through Encore, and more came in. And so now we have on hand about 300 kits. So we're okay on that, but thank you. It's okay. Like I'll move wrong and I know it hurts. And like after I wrecked Sunday, I had some extra pain for a couple of days, but it's not like hurting as bad as it was. So they're talking about putting cement in the vertebrae that's broken, and it's kind of shoring up another one. But who knows what they're actually going to do? We'll see. The orthopedics that I saw, he's like, "Yeah, we only do that for pain control." And I had to go see my GP, and she's like, "You are going to see neurointervention. You need to see neurointervention." So I'm going to go see them to make her happy. Tanya says, bone density, you're going to be lying on your back for about a half hour. You might want to have them put a pillow under your knees to help keep pressure off your back. Yeah, I've had some bone density stuff just done, like they just used my foot to kind of gauge, but this is going to be more of my body. And so I'm going to be laying there for, I think they said in different positions for about 45 minutes to an hour. So, yeah. But they think that I have an osteoporotic fracture, I think is what they're calling it, osteo something. So we'll see. And a bunch of it's just because I was on steroids for so long, it kind of messed up my bones. But on the other hand, I can breathe now. So messed up bones, problems breathing. I'll take the bones, you know? Have not heard of that service dog. Okay. So just cleaning stuff? Yeah. Right now, yes. Shelf-stable food, we are such a poor area. Like our poverty rate is like, I think 24%, and our child poverty rate is like way over 30, according to some of the things that I've seen. And that was, like I said, before the employers were lost. So we always need shelf-stable food. So, but the best thing about that, the best thing to do for that, if you really want to do something, is just send like a little gift card. Is but like I'll give it to my husband so he can take it and use it through the church, so they can at least save tax. But Food City, Food Lion, there's a Walmart. Food City and Walmart are 45 minutes to an hour either direction. We don't have one even in this county because we don't have enough of a base to support large businesses like that. We do have a Food Lion here in the county. Not a great one, but we've got it. Been there and done that, Service Dog Channel says, on top of pigmentary dispersion syndrome glaucoma, my lack of depth perception has caused me some serious trip and fall injuries. I'm sorry. That's trip and fall injuries are awful. Like with me, this time it was ice flat on my back. Hit my butt first and then my back. But, anybody can have an ice fall. But falls like you're talking about can happen repeatedly. And to me, that makes it worse. Tanya says, I'm legally blind, Service Dog Channel. I understand that, but I hope you're okay. And she says, I have to have a lower GI to see if I have an infection in my colon. What the? Oh, boy. Keep us updated on all this, both y'all. I don't recognize, didn't realize you're legally blind. Have you done OMN training? I don't recognize that training. It's orientation and mobility. And this training, I have a friend of mine that went through it. And tell me if I'm getting something wrong here, okay? But she really needed that training because she learned how to take care of her meds and how to cook food more safely and how to navigate her house and navigate outside and how to use her cane. And it just really was the best thing for her. Yep. Okay. Orientation and mobility, learning to use a white cane. So I did get part of it right. Okay. It was like, for her, it was the best training. What would you say was the most valuable for you? Tanya says, I can't use a white cane because I have muscle spasms and I would accidentally throw it. She says, I'm transitioning to partial wheelchair due to loss of muscle strength, but I can see in my own way. It's hard to describe. There's so many things about like various medical challenges that are just hard to describe. And I wish it wasn't that way because the medical teams would understand it more, I feel like. Let's see. And Service Dog Channel says, oh yeah, O&M is a lot of helpful stuff. Yeah, it was a big deal for her. I've got another friend that is losing her sight, and I just cannot convince her to take the training. Everybody under the sun, from her doctor to her best friend to her family, to me, to everybody, we're all trying to convince her to take the training. And she's like, it's really not that bad. I'm getting worse, but it's not really that bad. And I'm like, she is not on a ground floor place to live. She's got steps and a bunch of them. I wish I could convince her. Someday. And Service Dog Channel says, I'm scheduled for O&M to be able to use a white cane in unfamiliar places. That's one of the things that I think really helped her the most. That and cooking. Because she couldn't cook anyway. Sorry. She's not a very good cook. and she really needed the help with safety there. Arthur kind of learned that mom can't see, so he leads me around ice and cracks. And even if we're just going for a walk and there's a crack in the road, he's like, nope, we got to turn it around, Mom. That's good. Now, with your vision loss, you might be able to check into Guide Dogs for the Blind and some other programs like that provide dogs at no cost. Yeah, I knew who you meant. Service Dog Channel says, I have 20/20 vision, but I'm doing it to prevent trips and falls. Good for you. Any trip or fall that you can prevent is a big win. Some people, it's really hard for them to take help. Yeah, I hope she gets to that point soon, because as her eyesight progresses, it just, y'all know, it just makes it that much more likely that something's going to go wrong. And she lives by herself, and I just really don't want to see her get hurt. Service Dog Channel, try also listening to the sound that the cane makes against the pavement. You'll be able to tell what's in front of you by different sounds. She's not a very good cook, no, but she tries. And a lot of it is stove and oven. And learning the safe ways while she's trying, good thing. Tanya says, I prefer to have a mobility service dog. You might be able to do both. You know, if you talk to them, the worst they can do is say no, right? Service Dog Channel says, what I thought was a white painted stripe in the parking lot was a pipe. I fell so hard. Please tell me you didn't break anything and that you're okay. Yeah, Tanya's asking that too. And Tanya says, I would need 2 different service dogs, because the ones for the blind are taught to disobey in certain situations. You need 2 different dogs. I don't know. Let me just encourage you to talk to them and tell them what all is going on, and let them suggest. You might be surprised. And if not, at least you'll have the insight, you know, and more information is always better. Let's see. Okay, you all, I just realized what time it is. I try to keep this to an hour so I'll be a good steward of your time, but it's been good talking to you all. Service Dog Channel says, took a chunk out of my pinky finger, but it's healed now. I'm glad for that. I'm glad you didn't break anything. Tanya says, I've spoken about this with a few service dog companies, and they say the difference in training is what makes the dog be able to do the job. You can't have a mobility dog that's going to, bedtime. Yep. I didn't realize that. So thank you all for hanging out. I've really appreciated talking to you all and your insights and everything. I appreciate it. I am going to adjust it though, and probably do some clipping out tomorrow or the next day, and just kind of tighten it up a little bit and kind of keep it to the stuff about the epilepsy and service dogs more. Kind of got off on a tangent about the hurricanes and stuff when Busy Lady came in, and sorry about that. Okay. Tanya says it's passive disobedience to save the blind person from walking into traffic and stuff. Mobility dogs don't do that. That's true. And I don't think with Pipsy I'm going to have any of the passive disobedience or intelligent disobedience. I don't see it happening with him. With Tomlin, it did. But I think I don't want to diss anybody that's got a lab, but I think my husky mix was smarter than my lab in some ways. Not necessarily easier to train, but I do think in some ways Tomlin was a little bit of a smarter dog, just because he could figure things out better and faster and easier. Let me go back into it. Archer learned it on his own, but he's an odd pickle. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have that with him. Yeah, it was. Now I'll tell you, this one's got a different name. He's got a called name, and then he's got the official name. So when I'm out in public and stuff, it's always his called name. Tony says, my Chihuahua, however, is a few fries short of a happy. Aw. You should get with Laurel. She's got a Chihuahua, and I tell you, Candy was perfectly behaved. When we went out and met her that day, she was the calmest Chihuahua I have ever seen in my life. Not a bark, not a whine, everything on point. Very impressive with the dog. Tanya says, Archer has two, so people can't call his name in public. I didn't have as much problem with people calling Tomlin, because I think with him being a bigger dog and being a husky mix, that made a difference. I know there was the one time when he was, like confused by a wolf, for a wolf. That was the time when the two sisters were together, and one sister wanted to pet him, and the other one smacks her hands and says, no, you can't pet a service wolf. But nobody, I think just because he was bigger and stuff, nobody bothered us as much. But oh my gosh, this lab, it's the night and day difference. Tanya says, she has not learned potty outside. She's only using the potty pad, and the vet says she might not ever learn. He said she has cognitive difficulties. I'm so sorry. When the vet says that, it's got to be true. I'm so sorry. And Tanya says, no, he's smart, and he learned that I have a stuffed bunny rabbit, and he tries to sneak off with it, and he knows he shouldn't. Yeah, they'll do things like that. You just got to love them. You just got to love them. But yeah, I will say that I have been shocked, like even before the hurricane, just at the difference about how many people have tried to pet Pipsy as opposed to Tomlin. I don't know if it's the size, the build, the difference in a black dog and a yellow dog, or what it is, but it's a big difference. Tanya said that she definitely depends on him, and she's talking about her dog and Archer a lot. He is so protective of her. Aw, that is cool. I tend to tell Archer, now you can't play, and people, if they think he's getting in trouble, go back off. He just ignores me. Oh, I hate that. You got to work with him a little bit more on that. Fortunately, Pipsy does not ignore me unless my husband has a ball in his hand, in which case his little brain, all he sees is the ball. Even more so than food. Like, he will leave food for a ball. It's kind of scary. But he has a blast. Archer knows that I'm not talking to him, and he's like, oh, okay, and puts his head down. Oh, okay. Gail, do you remember in the mall they had that bouncy ball test? Oh my gosh, yes. My heart just absolutely went cold. And I looked at my husband. He had wanted so much the day before to buy a ball and play fetch with him. And I'm like, no, we're still in training. Let's not do that. And oh my gosh, when we saw that ball test, mm-mm-mm, mm-mm-mm. Service Dog Channel, I don't know how they did the public access with you all, but ours involved going to the mall next to the arcade by the indoor playground and walking around the dogs and walking over the dogs and bouncing a ball. That was one of the tests. Heart stopping. He just moved his head to follow the ball, even if it was bouncing. See? Yeah. But I think it's fair. I was really glad that they really put him through the test in that area because it was such a difficult area. It's like if he can focus on that with everything going on, then he's going to focus anywhere. I mean, I was like completely flabbergasted that we had the test there. I mean, the food court at the mall, in front of the arcade, next to the playground. Unbelievable. I mean, I could not think of a better bad place to have a test. Oh, you didn't? Okay. We did. It was heart-stopping. And did they put, now with Archer, did they put the French fries like right in front of his nose, like 2 inches from his nose? They're dropping the French fries. Did they do that? Because we also saw him use party mix, and I just wonder which he got. Tanya says, I was having anxiety problems while they were doing those tests, and Archer flat refused to stay at one point, but it was because I was having a panic attack, and I sat down, and he climbed in my lap. Good dog. Yes, they did. They did French fries and party mix. I think that was a good thing, that combination. But I was just like, I couldn't believe as close as they put it to his nose. Like with Tomlin, he gave him, I don't remember what it was, but he put it a couple of feet from his nose, not like right up at it. Archer kept his eyes on the food, but didn't react, go toward it. Yeah. This guy didn't either. And he still doesn't. But we've worked really hard to keep up with that training. All right. Well, you all, I appreciate you hanging out. But I am going to have to go. And I appreciate you all being here so much. But now Archer was sick. He had Giardia when I picked him up. Pipsy was sick. He had Campylobacter. He got into something. I am satisfied that day because of the way how sick he got. When he brought him out to me, they had to go and get him from the prison that day. So he left the prison and came to us. And then like 2 hours later, he's throwing up what looks like eggshells. And a couple of days later, while we were there, they took him to the vet and diagnosed him with Campylobacter. And then it was like, okay, do you still want this dog? Or do you want to come back in a few months and have this whole thing go over again? So I opted to keep him, and I'm glad I did. It worked out. So thank you all again. Thank you, the Service Dog Channel. Thank you, Tanya, for hanging out and being here this long. I've really enjoyed talking to you all. And you all take care. Have a great night. Have a great week. And I'll see you again Saturday. Hopefully, I won't have half the lights blow out in my office and we'll be able to start on time. But thank you all. Y'all take care. Good night.